Hey YouTube, it's Appalachian ADV Rider coming to you live here in North Carolina, the Appalachian Mountains, bringing you another first impression. This knife here, right here, this is a quiet carry Waypoint, made in Vanax Super Clean. So this knife right here is, at least the blade steel is completely rust proof. That Vanax Super Clean is some serious metal. Has good edge retention for a stainless, knife. Pretty strong, pretty tough, and it just won't rust. It's a thumb stud knife. The one thing about this knife that I just love, or I would say I love it in every knife, but I love it in this knife, it's thin. I mean, this stock is super thin. It's got this amazing hollow grind. For a short knife, it has a pretty long blade. And I normally buy American-made knives, and when I first started getting involved in knives, I was looking for a knife that I could, take with me when I'm motorcycle riding. So it was more about the function over anything else. So I did a lot of research, and this Vanax Super Clean, which is this steel right here, is supposedly like the best stainless steel. It's a nitrogen infused steel instead of, it doesn't use carbon, and it just won't rust. I mean, under normal everyday use, or even kind of haphazard use, this thing won't rust. I guess like anything, if you like leave it in the ocean for years or so, it will rust. So the hardware is titanium, except for this clip here, pocket clip, and that's like marine grade stainless steel. But even if that rusted, you could just remove it. So this knife, I believe, is made in Taiwan. It is super thin and super chamfered. Like, everything on this knife is so smooth. I just really love it. So this is a first impression of this knife, so it's not a review. So I'm not going to go through a bunch of specs and comparisons to other knives and whatnot. So that I would say for full review, which I'll do one day. But what I want to give you guys an impression is, how does this knife feel? Like, what is it? What do I view it as intended use? So this is definitely not intended to be used as a hard use knife. It has a very thin blade stock. The tip comes to a very thin tip. The edge is just, I mean, everything about this knife is, I hate to say dainty, right? Because it's a knife, but certainly not hard to use. So this knife is a liner lock as opposed to a frame lock. And so this liner lock is actually made out of LC200N, which is a very stainless steel also that has good edge retention and toughness, but it's not as good as Vanax. But still, I mean, to use it as a liner lock material is pretty incredible. This is kind of on the earlier side of my knife collecting experience. It took me a while to purchase it. I think I got the Waypoint first, because, I got the Drift first because it was available, and then when this one came available, I got it. But what attracted me to this knife is its water resistance, right? I am a guy that likes to ride motorcycles and camp, and I'm outdoors in a lot of inclement weather. If I'm out for days at a time, you know, in the mountains, sometimes the weather just changes on you. So I get caught in, you know, a variety of weather. And so I wanted something that I could have on me that could help me out if I needed it. It's a tool, and I wouldn't have to worry about maintenance on it. So you definitely don't have to worry about maintenance on this knife. It's got a phosphor bronze washer knife, and it's made out of Vanax and titanium and marine grade steel. And it just, you can, you know, neglect this knife for quite a while, and, you know, get it home one day and clean it up, and you'll be fine. And you probably don't even need to clean it up, but I'm just saying that I'm going to clean it up anyway, but you can go a while without even, you know, having to worry about it. It has such a thin profile that it's just enjoyable. And it's so rounded. I think I mentioned that already. And this thing is so chamfered. It's slick to hold. So in that regard, it's not great. But if you're gonna, you know, use this knife as a utility knife when you're riding and camping, you don't necessarily need a ton of tactical aspects to this knife and grip and whatnot, because it's just going to be used for whatever, you know. You're going to eat and cut with your knife, or be in the woods somewhere and needed to cut a zip tie or a cord or a wire to make repairs or whatever. And for that purpose, it's going to be, you know, good. It's going to be perfect. You know, if a bear is going to come out and attack me, would I want to have this knife? Not necessarily in that situation. But what's nice about it is you can stick this in your jacket pocket somewhere. It's small enough, and just forget about it. Just put it in there. It can rain, it could snow, it could do whatever. You could not wash your jacket for a while. You can forget it's in here. You can put it in the laundry, and then you pull this knife out and it'd be like brand new again, right? How do you not love that? There's, you know, a lot of people out there. I've been doing this stuff for a while, and not just knife reviews, but leading motorcycle rides and just talking about gear and whatnot. So I'm not going to go through my resume, but I can tell you that there are people out there that they want the unicorn, and I think that's most of us, right? But I mean, there are people out there that just will not settle for anything but the unicorn, and and they're also usually completely focused on price. So they want the impossible product at a low price. So this is not that. Just tell you right now. I think, I know this is $300 when I purchased it. So that is not an inexpensive knife. But it could be your only knife ever, if that's the way you want to be about it. And you know, for the most part, you don't need a tactical knife, right? And you know, if you want to prepare for that, then obviously this won't be your only knife ever. But if you're in an urban environment, or, you know, you're just not, maybe you carry a gun and you're going to use that for self-defense, and this is just going to be a tool, right? So you don't need anything really tactical. You can get away with this forever, and be your one and only knife. I just want to point something out. I mean, look how, this probably doesn't show up real well in this video, but this knife is just so perfectly centered and balanced and chamfered, and like this knife like kind of disappears at this end, underneath the scale, and so the blade has disappeared, so you can feel the scale. But then it ramps up slightly, and then you can feel the blade in the middle and not feel the scale. And then it comes to a very even meeting right here between the scales and the pivot of the blade steel. It's just, I don't know how to describe it. Like this edge here, it's smooth and it's level, but it twists as it goes around the geometry of the scale. And then this finger groove here is just so smooth. I mean, everything about this knife is just so smooth. And if you're the type of person that likes to, you know, hold on to a knife and fidget it with it, I mean, this is a great knife. Now, I love the visual impact of a textured titanium knife, right? And visually, I'm very attracted to it. But the reality of it is, when I'm holding a knife and playing with a knife, I really tend to more prefer something very, very smooth. So very smooth is not as useful because it doesn't have as much grip and, you know, blah, 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 blah. But for just the aspect of holding a knife and carrying it and playing with it, this smooth texture is just pretty incredible. And you probably go your whole life without ever having to use a knife in self-defense. So the reality of it is, you know, you can get away with a small, light use knife that's so practical and lightweight and easy to hide and low maintenance, and have it be the only knife you ever need and never miss anything. Like, you know, somebody might say, well, I mean, I use my knife, my current knife, as a screwdriver, and this one can't be used as a screwdriver. True. I mean, this knife is not a screwdriver, but you know, I mean, you can carry a bigger, thicker knife and have that, you know, size and weight penalty on you, but you could always be ready for anything that comes at you that this might be able to handle, a knife might be able to handle. So there are other much more capable knives that will trade off the, you know, ease of carry and concealability of this knife for some tactical advantages, which, you know, like I said, chances are, you know, depending upon who you are and what you're doing, chances are you will never need that. But now, when I go riding, having said all that, when I go riding, I'll put this in my jacket pocket as just a knife that I don't have to worry about. And then I'll also carry another knife, because right? I'm a knife guy, right? I will, you know, carry a knife for no reason, and I will carry two knives for no reason, or three knives for no reason. So that's just the way it is. So if I feel like, you know, I want something tactical and can save me in the woods while I'm riding, and then also want this, I'll do it. Why? Because I can, and that's the way it is, right? So anyway, quiet carry. It's a one-man operation. It is a guy that designs the knives here in America. I believe it's in California. And then he contracts out all the work. There's, you know, I think there's more reasonable rumors out there that it is Taiwanese. But regardless of where it's made, it's not made in America. So if that is something that you absolutely require, this is not the knife. And, you know, nowadays, I tend to only buy American. Like I said, I bought this knife because it is the pinnacle of rust-proof knife. Now, you've got, Spyderco has a whole line of Salt series knives that are, you know, maybe as a complete package might be a better knife in terms of nothing will rust, and I don't even know if that's true or not. I'm just saying that, and the only reason why I'm saying that is because this is stainless steel, and I'm not sure what else is stainless steel. But the blade itself, the Vanax, there's just no question that the Vanax is better. So Spyderco uses LC200, and it depends upon, you know, what year of Spyderco you're buying. But you know, if you're earlier on, their Salt series knives were H1, right? And then they have moved to LC200N, and now they're moving to Magna Cut, though I'm not really sure how many knives they released in the Salt series and Magna Cut. I don't know if there's any at the moment, but that is the direction they're heading in. And that's Spyderco as a company. They're just they on the cutting edge of using different knife steels. If you're like a knife nut and like these different steels, then Spyderco is a company that you want to follow. So this has been a very long video. I might edit it down, I might not, who knows. But what is this knife for? I mean, do I like this knife? So I love this knife for one intended use, and that use would be outdoor, not a primary knife, you know, outdoor use where you're going to be involved in the elements. You know, you might be at the beach going for a swim even, right? You can take this knife in the ocean and you'll be fine, other than maybe the sand getting in the works, right? But I mean, it does have phosphor bronze washer, so you keep some of that sand particle out of there. But still, other than that, it's not going to rust, right? And so the use would be, you know, outdoor use, like sand. I mean, the beach. If you're going to go to the beach, you're going to ride your motorcycle in the rain, you're going to go camping and use this knife to maybe food prep or whatever, and you don't have water next to you, or you just don't have the time or the resources to clean it at that moment. You don't have to worry about it. You can do it, you know, tomorrow, the day after, or a week later, or a month later. I mean, this knife won't rust in like a month's time. You can actually put it in the ocean and you could pull it out after a month and this knife will be fine. Now, could you do that for 2 years, 3 years? I mean, eventually no, right? And would you ever have a knife in the ocean for a month's time, 30 days, and then retrieve it? Like, either you lost a knife and it's going to be in there for 30 days or more, or you haven't lost a knife and your knife won't be in there for 30 days. So under normal use, you can't rust this knife. I mean, even with a ton of neglect, you just can't do it. At least the blade and the titanium and the titanium hardware, because I believe this hardware here is all titanium except for this clip. I'm pretty sure this clip is not. So thank you for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed this preview or first impressions of this knife, and what I think it's going to be used for, or what it should be used for. And I hope you go out and enjoy yourself for the rest of the day, and thank you for joining me. And please like and subscribe to my channel if you want to keep this content coming.